So, in the month of November, I am talking to men about men stuff that I think impacts them, is unique to men, but also impacts women because we're all living here together. This is really in lead up to International Men's Day, which is November 19th. Who knew that there was only one day? I thought that was the 364 days that weren't International Women's Day. How dare I? And also for the month of Movember, which is really about raising awareness for men's health issues. So today I'm talking to my TikTok friend who I've never met in person, but who always has a pretty strong opinion on some of these issues. And so was super excited to have a chat. So why don't you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll dive in and talk. Hello.
My name is Peter. I go by my surname, which is Moone, so they call me Moonee on TikTok because it's my DJ name. I'm 47 years old. I live in the East Midlands. I've been single for about 2 years, and within which time I've done a lot of research into not only myself, but the way I was acting around women in general.
Mm.
And the reason I did that was simple. It's because I firmly believed originally that it was the fault of women as to why I was on my own and why I was requiring a lot of love and attention and dependency. But it was not that. It was completely the opposite. Um, Women were not doing me any wrong,
Mm.
and of course it was me that was doing the wrong. More importantly, it was me that needed to forgive the child passionately within me in order for me to understand that women do have it hard, and women have had it hard for many, many years. And then for someone like myself to come along within their lives and try and flatter them, try and charm them, was not the way forward. It was a mask that I wore for many, many years. And of course, of which gained me negative attention. And obviously, within which time, in the 4 relationships that I've had throughout my whole entire life, I was always, as a child, I understood. I understand now. I understand that as a child, I didn't get much attention or affection from my parents. I was quite neglected, and I don't mind saying so. My parents are profoundly deaf, so I was a full-time carer for them for my entire life, from the age of about 5 or 6. And I was only a convenience. I wasn't a necessity. I wasn't the love and the care and attention.
Yeah.
So within which time, obviously, of course, that getting that out of the way, as I got older, it became apparent to me that all I wanted was attention and affection from people.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't really get that from male friends. So I then started to associate myself with women who tend to be, and obviously, are more caring and more nurturous towards the human race.
Mm.
Of that, I gained recognition from women, and therefore I then attached myself to women quite frequently throughout my life. But then, of course, when I got to my mid 40s, it became apparent to me that I had the issue,
Mm.
and I couldn't really speak to my male friends about it because men don't understand men. Men don't understand that there are things that happen in their lives, in their mental health, and that men don't tend to be empathetic.
Mm.
I have a very, very good friend of mine who is himself is bipolar and extremely misogynistic.
Mm.
And the connection there is a strange one because I try to educate him daily. However, I try and educate him just by shaking my head when he mentions something misogynistic.
Mm. Yeah.
And the only way that we can, I feel, as men, that we can crack these ways, crack these men in any sense of form, is to turn our heads and bow and disagree or disapprove with the actions or the verbal diarrhea that comes out of their mouth.
Yeah.
Um, since being on TikTok and coming across people like yourself, I've understood women, because women now have a platform. They have an amazing platform where they can excel and they can share knowledge, because, of course, of the oppression they've faced for many, many years before. They've never really had a anywhere to say or to speak their
Mm,
mind.
mm,
Unfortunately, because they speak their mind, the men of the world do tend to find it quite difficult to accept.
mm. Yeah.
So it does take men like me to realize that it is all men. It's all men until no men.
Mm,
I often still walk into a room, and an example I'll use on occasion to my friends. A friend of mine said, well, what's this all men till no men thing? And I said, okay, when you walk into a room innocently and there's a woman there, could be a sales assistant, could be someone conducting a meeting, could be a teacher. That woman doesn't know you. But if that woman instantly grabs her cardigan and pulls it across her chest, it's because it's all men till no men.
yeah.
So yeah, that's a little introduction for me.
Yeah, just there's a little bit of stuff in there. Yeah. No, and I appreciate you saying that. I think there's so there's so much that is that we need to unpack, and I do think that I think what you said about, because obviously with that we met on TikTok, I think that, it is a platform, it is a place where women can come talk, but man, men will absolutely come at you and try to take any shot they can to make women stand down. And I think it's helpful when men stand up and say, no, you can't do that, that's not okay, right? Like we're not doing that. And I think it's helpful, I mean, let's be honest, it's helpful when it's a guy and they have a little bit of age, so they have a little bit of wisdom, if they're big, like all of the things that make patriarchy work also work when you need someone to step in and say, and that's not like the women all need it, but it helps if a man will say, hey, that's not okay. Like, learn, I mean, what I've seen you do that I think is really helpful is when you'll say to a guy, like, if you're going to have an argument, get a real argument, right? Like, like these women will argue with you, but don't just come in and spout off nonsense, right?
Mm,
And I
mm.
think I think that can sometimes, it because it obviously it what's the word I'm looking for? It goes off into, name calling, and you're not attractive, and nobody wants you, and you have a cat, like all of these things real fast with women, with those
I
kind
want a
of
cat. I
guys.
want a cat. I want a
Right.
cat.
I have one. You can come borrow it. um, but I think that there is a need. I think what you said, like men don't understand men, but
Mm.
also women try to understand men and don't always. Like we're also trying, you
Yeah,
know.
it can be difficult for any of us. It can be
Yeah.
difficult for both genders to actually, to disagree with it. We are humans. As
Yeah.
men, if we feel
Yes.
men can feel quite. I mean, I'm not a psychologist. I just learn a lot.
Yeah.
If men are attacked, if men feel attacked, the instant thing for them to do is defend.
Yeah.
Women have a beautiful way of understanding, taking it on board, you know, digesting the understanding and explaining the meaning.
Yeah.
Men don't. Men have an instant reaction.
Mm.
And I mean, Leah, don't get me wrong. I have faced absolute, as you probably well know, I've faced just as much abuse.
Oh
The
yeah.
first thing, the first thing men say to me is, "Oh, you're just a simp,"
Yes. Always.
and
The
I'll say to myself, you know what? I am Lord of the Simps.
real- Yes, I have seen you say that.
Yes, I'm Lord of the
Yeah.
Simps. The
Yeah.
simple reason being is because
Right.
you have to understand women don't deserve the oppression they've been getting for, I think it's thousands of years.
Yeah.
We come along and we believe that all of a sudden a woman comes onto a platform and says this is not right and this is why it's not right. We have sources, we have research that backs up
Data.
what we've said, and
Yeah.
a man will still say, yeah, but you still need to go and make a sandwich.
Right.
And then
Always. It's always the sandwich.
absolutely. And all they want is just one man to turn around and say, yeah, he's right, and laugh and put
Yeah.
loads of emoji faces.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I constantly come up and say, actually there's more education and knowledge within this small room
Yeah.
than has been in your whole friendship group for the last 10 years.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I feel the same way. Like, I think it's the same when if I say something and someone like men, it's almost always men. Some once in a while it's a woman, but it's usually a woman who's on that side of the argument. But men will instantly make a comment about my weight, and I'm like, yeah, all right. So tell me something I don't know about myself.
Yeah.
Like, I do have mirrors in my house. Like, it's not like I don't know, right? And so I'm like, okay. And I think it is, I think, like you said, I think there's something disarming about saying I'm the Lord of the Simps, or yeah, I know.
Mm,
Like, got it. Say
yeah.
something else. Come up with something else.
Yeah. I say thank you.
Yeah. Like, oh, you looked. Thanks.
I say thanks for reminding me of my role in this life. Yeah, thank you so
Exactly. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever, And so it's one of those things that I think, like you said, we can all be better communicators. We can all work hard to be understanding. I do think that there is a fear that shows up in some of these conversations with that men are afraid they're going to be rejected, often by other men.
Mm.
Yes, by women, sure, but a lot of these guys have been rejected by women a lot, and so they're, because of how they behave. And I think it's that they want to gather some men around them and be like, "Yeah, we're on the same side." And when other men say, "No,
The funny thing about that, and I don't mean to interrupt, just adding
no,
to that.
what?"
The funny thing about that is a man will get recognition from another man, right? Then what?
Yeah,
That man will say, "Well, I recognized you. I don't know you, bro. Yeah, well done. Yeah, I've given you the attention. See you, bye."
yeah,
Whereas a man would, in a situation, a man would then want to turn around. Men and mental health, they don't really talk about it, granted.
yeah, yeah,
But the most important people on the planet to understand and listen to a man is a woman. And men don't seem to understand that. They'll think, no, I don't talk about my mental health. It's because you can't talk about your mental health
yeah, yeah. No,
because
for sure.
you refuse to, because your bro down the road, his his therapy is let's go down a pub, talk about it over a couple of lemonades. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think the most beautiful thing that's come out from this is if men were to understand women a little bit more, women would want to engage with those type of men a little bit more. Since I've been on my own for 2 years, the most beautiful thing has happened to me. My children love me.
Mm,
And I say that with heart and with passion.
yeah,
My children absolutely adore me. Whereas before, when I was raging and didn't know what I was angry about and
right.
always blaming women, my children were the forefront and the brunt of that.
Yeah.
So whatever I was raging about, I mean, I was moaning about their mother, I was moaning about my ex-partner,
Yeah.
and I was always putting women first.
Yeah.
But then I actually understood women and what they were about, and I took it on board.
Yeah.
Now I don't rage against my children's mother anymore. I embrace her into my life. She has a new relationship because I understand the trauma. I understand the difficulty that she faced.
Yeah.
And my children now spend more time with me, equal amounts probably, than they do with their mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and in that sense, in being this simp lord, believe it or not, and this is not going to sound egotistical, but I've probably become more attractive to the opposite sex
Totally. That makes sense.
because I have something that men dare not talk about, Leah. Emotional intelligence.
I don't know what to do with it.
I need to whisper that.
Yes, please.
One's listening.
Someone might hear.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
emotional intelligence is now at the forefront of my mind
Yeah.
and understanding what women go through. And I'm having conversations with women, and they say after about probably 2 or 3 days, they say, um, I'm finding this quite strange. So, well, what do you mean? Well, you haven't been innuendous.
Right.
You haven't discussed anything of a nature. And I say, well, you're not likely to get that from me
Yeah.
because I understand what you go through.
Yeah.
I understand that you were catcalled. I understand that you have to cross the road in order to ignore or remove yourself from a group. I
Yeah.
understand you don't want to go past the building site because of any name calling or any particular difficulties that you may face. I understand that you don't want to sit in the back of a taxi on your own.
Yeah.
I understand all these things. And yes, then it allows me to engage and become a friend.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that, I think you're absolutely right. Like, I think what I think we all want, or I mean, maybe not all, but anybody who wants real connection and relationship with the opposite sex, right? I think what we want, or with the same sex, I don't know, what we want is connection. We'd like to have friendship and then have that grow into something, but often I just don't I never expect it. Never. I expect that eventually they might be with me enough to decide that I'm also pretty cool, that I'm not just a good lay, right? And so I just assume that eventually they might catch on that I'm a pretty decent chick, right? And that they might be like, well, she's nice to be around and to talk to. And I never expect a man to befriend me and then also want to be with me,
But a
right?
woman would understand a man better if she becomes his friend.
Yes.
I hate
My
that.
male friends are some of my absolute best friends in the world. I rely on them. I can ask them questions. I can say, "Hey, do you think this is dangerous? Do you think I should do this?" And they're like, they'll say, "Don't go there. Do this. Don't do that." And I'm like, "Okay, right."
Yeah,
I
yeah,
trust them.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is, some of these misogynistic men have daughters,
Yes,
right?
a lot of
And
them.
they are the most protective men of their daughters because they understand what men like them are out there.
Yeah,
But if these men understood and sort of turned the way they think
yeah,
and look at women the way they do their daughters, the world would be a better place.
yeah,
The difficulty is, and going back to the fact of a male having a woman friend,
mm,
is that there is a fine line between the fact of, I like you,
yeah,
and then the woman would say, well, actually, I've been waiting for you to ask me.
yeah. Exactly,
You
exactly.
know,
Yeah,
let's just forget everything and go home.
yeah. Exactly. We're not hungry, right? Yeah. No, I know. I know. But I honestly, I'll say this. Like, I honestly thought, so I'm 48, so I'm a little older than you. I win. I get to be your elder.
Yeah,
Um,
but you look younger than me, so that doesn't even matter.
I don't have quite as much gray hair, although I do have a ton.
Exactly. See, someone said to me the other day, I look like
I have
51.
let my hair go gray, but not as dramatically as you. Um, but I'm 48, and I was telling a friend recently that there's this idea that as women age, we become invisible. And I'm like, when does that happen? When do we get to become invisible? Because I'm looking forward to it. Because it's still scary. I'm still afraid of some of the men I've gone on dates with. I'm still afraid sometimes
Oh,
when I'm in London. I'm still like, there are still and so there's this whole concept that like eventually, as we age, we just become unimportant and invisible. And I'm like, I'm looking forward to it.
why?
Say that
Why?
again.
Why are you looking forward to it?
Because I would like to not, if I'm invisible, I'm hoping that what comes with invisibility is safety. If you don't see me, you won't bother me. You won't, not you, they. Like, if you don't see me and I'm too old, then I won't be catcalled. I won't be touched. I won't be mistreated. That's the hope. I think a lot of older women are feeling like, okay, if I get to be invisible, then it'll be safe to be in my body.
It's quite sad, really, though, isn't it?
Yeah. And I just think, I mean, the last guy I went on a date with, like, threatened me. And I'm like, okay, I am 48 years old. Why am I still being threatened like I'm 20? Right? And I was just like, it,
It's quite sad, though. It's quite sad, and
yeah,
I'm going just
yeah,
to interject. It's quite sad that as a woman, you have to think like. Well, you don't have to think like that, but it's quite
no,
sad when you think like that.
yeah, yeah,
I've never thought of worrying about the fact that the only reason I worry about getting older is the fact that I still look good enough. And to be fair,
yeah,
that's a small thing to think in relation to that. That's quite sad the way that you say that.
yeah, yeah.
And
And
that's again, every day's a learning day, Leo.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, when I say that to my female friends that are all in my same age group that are single, they're like, yeah. And even actually my married friends too, because they would like to be in the world as married ladies who get ignored,
That's
right?
just
And I'm like, please ignore us is not the anthem of women. Like, it shouldn't be, right? But we're kind of like, if you could just ignore us, that'd be great. Pretend like we're not here. Pretend you don't see us.
that's an emotional moment. That's quite sad.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, in all fairness, you know, allow me to unpack some of my
yeah,
misogyny. It's more for the rest of us, isn't it? Really,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
more for the rest of us as we get older. You
yeah.
know, okay, ignore them because we'll have them.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. No, and I, I don't know. It's very stunning to me that we're still, no, it's not stunning. I say that. I was going to say something and now I'm going to take it back. I have a, I have a suspicion. Let me say this differently. I have a suspicion that the part of the reason this is becoming so heated is the internet. That plays a role. But I also think that, like, listen, Gen X was a little feral already. Like this, we're already basically feral, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then the women of Gen X have pushed hard to be successful.
Mhm.
We've stayed in places that were male dominated and didn't leave. I mean, I worked in tech for 25 years, right? Like we've stayed in those places. And so we're like, come at me, bro. Right? Like I did this. I worked hard to be in this space and was successful. Come on, let's go. And so we can argue differently. We can, so I think there is like this generational thing happening, and we want it to be different for your children. We want it to be different for young boys. We want it to be different for young women coming up. I want my nieces to walk in the world and not hope to be invisible,
Absolutely.
right? And so I do think that there's something about Gen X that is like, we've been the fuck you generation for a long time. So we're finally like stepping into that at
But the
this age.
benefit of that, but the benefit of that is now given, obviously, on the internet and where I learn most of my learning from.
Yeah.
Most of my learning comes from women. It doesn't come from fuck books.
Yeah.
Most of my learning comes from women who have actually experienced it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I could go into a job tomorrow. I know my profession. But if I come across someone who's younger than me, who's actually as decent as me and can do my job as well as without any education,
Yeah.
come on, bro.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm looking after you because you know it.
Yeah.
And there is a particular person on the platform that I follow, and you can just tell. And I will state this: you can tell that she's rather than being ready for a conversation, she's already defensive.
Yeah.
And the reason she's already defensive is because she's aware of what type of conversation she's going to get.
Yeah.
A lot of it is conveyor belt stuff.
Yeah.
I'll sit there and go, "Oh, here we go.
Rinse, repeat, right?
Yeah,
Here
another
we
guy.
go.
Got a clue."
Yeah, think of something original, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
Tell me something I've never heard before.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, it's super it's interesting because I do think that there is part of the reason I wanted to do this. So I did something similar in the spring with women. Like I interviewed a bunch of women, 30 women for International Women's Day and Women's History Month. And back then in March, I said, well, if I can find 30 men, I'll do it in November. And so as the fall approached, I was like, but I also, so part of the reason I did this is that I realized that I had gotten so angry and my heart was sort of shrinking. I was turning into the Grinch, right? It was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And what this has done for me, even talking to you, it's cracking my heart back open and I'm saying, okay, I'm ready to go back in. Right? I'm ready to go back in and have conversation because I know like the conversations I'm having, so many of these men are just decent, good men who are saying they have no one to talk to. And I'm like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. You do. You have women. We're not leaving you, right? We're willing. But when I'm angry, I'm not willing. When I'm
Right,
angry, I'm
of
like,
course.
I'm not interested in anything you say, right? And so I've recognized in myself the need to soften back up. And not so soft that I'm going to get abused, but soften back up to say, if you're willing to tell me how you feel, I'm willing to listen. Because that's true. That's always been true.
Well, as a decent fellow, it's easy to recognise that.
Yeah.
It's harder for a decent fellow to understand and get it through to. I mean, I'm single, right? I like to date. I want to date,
Hmm.
but women have got such thick skin. It's
Yeah.
becoming near on impossible. And
Yeah.
I don't care about age. You could be 50, 60, 70.
Yeah.
Women will still think the same.
Mm.
The instant reaction they'll get is, how long is it going to be before he asks me for a picture?
Yeah.
How long is it going to be before he starts to crack off the, all my bed is cold. It's winter time.
Yeah.
That's becoming more and more difficult. And I'm
Yeah.
not talking that from an egotistical, selfish-centered place.
I
I'm
get it.
talking that in general. And you've just said the same thing yourself. Why
Yeah.
should I belittle myself to these men that I have to be guarded, even in my job? I have to be, even if I'm talking to someone as a counsellor, I still have to realise that I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And this particular man may well think, what can you tell me, you're a woman?
Right. Yeah.
I hate to educate you, young man. Hello, Kat.
Hello.
But it is quite difficult for, it's not quite difficult. What you said earlier on about hiding yourself,
Yeah.
it's very difficult for me to understand and establish.
Yeah.
It was hard to take.
Yeah.
So that allows me more empathy for women
Yeah.
and more understanding for women.
Yeah.
I try and educate my children every day. In fact, I'm doing very well at educating my children every day,
Yeah.
simply because they are two young men. And whenever they're on their phones and they're scrolling and a misogynistic influencer of a young nature comes up,
Yeah.
I stand there and I say these things. I pay your phone bill, block that man.
Nice. Good.
And they say, but dad, it's just conversation.
But dad.
It's just conversation. Okay, I'll turn off the Wi-Fi. I'll turn off your 4G. All right, I'll block him. I'll block him.
Yeah. No, good for you. Because I do like they are those guys, the red pill, disgusting men of of that part of the universe, they are coming for your sons.
Hmm.
Right? Because that's where they live and breathe, is if they can make more angry young men.
Absolutely. I mean, my oldest son is 16 years old, and he's starting to feel around himself around the world.
Yeah.
And he's come across a man called AT. I can't even say his name. So he showed me a video saying of this particular man. Look, that's what he's saying. Okay, let me find you a similar video, the other side of this man.
Yeah.
And my son's words were, wow, the internet is really a fake place, isn't it, Dad?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
He's right.
So if you're going to find something positive that this man has to say, or you feel this man has to say is positive, try and look for the negative as well.
Yeah.
Then make your own decision based on what is right.
Yeah.
And he's seen my reaction to his mother has improved tenfold, and the blessing that has become. My son's gone home and had conversations with me saying, Dad says this, Dad says that, Dad says this. And miraculously, in the last couple of months, my ex-wife said to me, I'd like us to open that channel again to talk.
Mm. Wow.
And that hit me. That really, really hit me, because I thought, if I can get her forgiveness,
Mm.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there's two sides to every coin,
Of course. No, yeah. Yeah.
but I'm not going to sit here and belittle her anymore
Yeah.
for even any wrong action that she's doing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to belittle her
Yeah.
because she has it hard. She has them most of the time,
Yeah.
plus her partner's kids, plus running a house, plus doing a full-time job.
Yeah.
And recently she's come to me and said, what do I do about this for one of my sons? And that was a moment of sheer delight for me.
Mm. Wow.
It's never come to me before.
That's co-parenting, right? That's actually co-parenting. It's
For
being
the first
parented.
time in 16
Yeah.
years, I've
Yeah.
been given that opportunity. It's not me being allowed. I've been given an opportunity.
You
So that
earned it.
shows
You
me.
earned it by showing up, though, right? I mean, listen, like, I don't know the situation. I don't know, I don't know the two of you, but I'm just saying, like, if you show up and say, I'm here and I'm open and I'm not going to talk shit about you and I want to raise good sons and I want to, then you often earn conversation. We earn it from one another.
It's the word, earn it.
Yeah. Right.
Earn it.
And
Absolutely.
and I think that we underestimate the power of earning something from one another. Because I think we're like, oh, I shouldn't have to earn this and I shouldn't have. No, but why not? Why shouldn't I have to earn your trust? Why shouldn't I have to earn, the right into your innermost thoughts? That's something that we make our way into by being trustworthy. Right? It's not like it's a test. It's just that if you are trustworthy with me, with my feelings, with who I am, then I'm going to let you come a little closer, I'm going to pull the walls down a bit, whether that's an old relationship or a new relationship. And so I think you have earned the right to co-parent by being kinder, more understanding, not talking shit about her, by being, involved with your sons and saying, she, like, because the most important person that's going to influence them is you. Like, for
Absolutely.
better or worse, no matter what other man lives in their home, they're saying, this one's my dad.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the
I
fact that,
think
yeah,
a lot of men don't seem to understand their trauma, the trauma that they brought upon the relationships.
yeah,
There was a lot of trauma in that relationship, whether it be from me or her.
yeah,
And the reason, I mean, of course, okay, let's talk about friends.
yeah,
I have friends of mine in my friend group, and the first thing they say is, I've lost my house, I've lost my car, I've lost. You haven't lost your children.
right,
All these other things are materialistic. Yes, we start again. As a man, it's your duty to keep the home safe for your children. I've lost my house. Yeah, but you've got a new house.
yeah,
It's far easier for us to be accepted. Think about the logistics. Think about the fact that you are on your own.
yeah,
You are far more accepted into a society to get your own place.
mhm,
Whereas if the mother of your children is desperate for a house, how many people are going to look at her and assess her to see if she's good enough to live in a home?
yeah. Are your kids gonna ruin the flat that I'm renting you? Versus a guy can just go to roll in. Like, no, yeah, I hear you.
So
I hear you.
women have it impeccably hard.
One thing that you just said about those men, something came to my mind, like men who look at their life and say, I lost all these things, I don't have this, I have to rebuild. And like you said, they still have their kids. I'll tell you that literally on my father's deathbed, he apologized to me and said, I believe what you told me. I made a mistake. I chose the wrong person. All these things about my past and having been abused and all these things. And you know what he got from me? Absolute, unequivocal, 100% forgiveness. And he got his daughter back for his last 10 days. Right? And could he have had it sooner? Yes. But the thing about us, the thing about your children, the thing about the women in your life, if you will show up and be like, oof, here's my part, most people will extend forgiveness. And
Most,
yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
people,
Yeah, most women.
most women, men do not forget because they allow their trauma to hurt them
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
so much that they cannot forgive.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
fair play to your father,
yeah,
but more importantly, fair play to you
yeah,
for giving him that.
yeah. No, I mean, he said, he's like, the thing he said to me was like, I was such a bad father. And I was like, you weren't a bad father. You made a bad choice in
Yeah,
the midst of raising me and you chose wrong, but you were a good dad in a lot of ways. Like, it's not like my whole impression of you is terrible dad. I had a great dad who chose to believe the wrong thing for a period of our lives together.
I
Right?
always feel that expression, men, is more of a woman saying, I forgive you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, men. Oh, You're
I
all
mean,
right.
one of my best friends is a man that I was engaged to in my early 20s who cheated on me. And when he came back and said, "I really, can I talk to you?" And I was like, "Okay, I guess." I was like, "You're not going to get anything from me, but you can have a conversation with me." And he was like, "Okay." He flew in, wanted to talk to me. We sat down, we spoke, and he said, "I want your forgiveness." And my heart went like, "Okay." And I said, "Okay, you can." I mean, we were young, we were stupid. I forgive you. And he was like, "No, I really want you to forgive me." I'm like, "I forgive you." Right? And we have been friends for the next 20 years on the back of that apology because I can forgive it.
So I think that he'll always want your forgiveness for that.
Yeah. I mean, he still sometimes brings it up and I'm still sometimes like, "We already had this conversation. Can we move on?"
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know. But
It doesn't. I mean, I think I've been in a similar situation. I walked into my last relationship. I walked into a situation where I saw in the arms of another man, and at the time I was, "How dare you? This is you're all women are evil." This, rah, rah, rah.
right.
What I didn't really understand was, and I didn't question was, what did I do
Mm,
made her feel like that?
mm,
What is it that I could have done better to keep her in my arms? And I agree that not everybody's, plain sailing.
right.
That there are some people. We all have narcissistic traits, regardless of who we are and how nice we are. But I do. I'm the same. If
Yeah.
I forgive, then I can not can't unpack my baggage on someone else.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's so important. I think just the ability to say, just to really go back and say, "Hey, can we have this conversation? Because I want to make sure that we leave clean. Like, even if we don't stay in each other's lives, I want to leave the situation having unpacked whatever we're both carrying forward for me and for the other person." And sometimes it's not possible, and the other person won't have those conversations, and I get that. But I want to own my part, and I want us to be able to say, let's not carry this into the next the next relationships, right?
Okay.
Whatever those are,
Yeah,
right?
because I'm learning. Each one is a learning badge.
Exactly. I got level 13 badges for
Yeah, exactly. I've got a 50-meter swimming badge.
I'm not even getting a participation trophy lately, so
But
I
are you
took myself out of the game.
are you single? I mean, again, I don't know your relationship status, but
Yeah.
were you single, or are you single because, of course, you still believe that men are still men? Or are you willing to forgive
Ooh.
the world because you are now understanding, as you said yourself after interviewing men, that it's still all men till no men. I am
Yeah.
still all man till no
Yeah.
man. But some part of me and understands and firmly believes, that a woman can look at me and go, "It is all men but no men, but parts of him I can trust."
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big word for women to come across with men.
Yeah.
Trust.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes, I would say I stopped dating because I thought it's just never going to happen. And I'm not going to keep putting myself out there and putting myself in danger, quite frankly. And it's not worth it. Like that's what I felt. So earlier, I just kind of tuned out of it all in, I don't know, January, February and said, "I'm done. I'm not going to keep pursuing this." Um, I mean, I was keeping track since I moved to London 2 years ago. I was keeping track of the number of dick pics I'd gotten, just for shits and giggles, keeping track of the sheer number of dick pics I'd got,
Oh, look, that one
unsolicited,
looks the same as that one.
unsolicited dick pics. I was at 27.
Oh my God.
And I thought, I'm not doing this. I do not want any more dick pics on my phone. So I just sort of tuned out. I think where I've come to over the last few months, having, like I said, my heart's a little cracked open. I'm like, okay, I'm willing to give. I've come to a place where I think that there are absolutely men that I feel safe with. So there must be some men I can feel safe with. That's but to your point, that requires me being brave, and it requires being very thoughtful about who, when, where, what, you know. And so
It's a shame because your mind automatically goes to the negativity of what happened before,
yeah,
which is
exactly.
why it's all men till no men.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do believe that there are really decent men out there who are not finding women to engage with as well, because all of us are, not all of us, but a lot of us are angry and closed off and are a little prickly, right? And not necessarily open, right? And real quick to run away.
Yeah,
Right? So
yeah, I feel it myself. I do. And someone will say to me, like for example, I always say to someone, if I'm chatting or disclosing, just and it does get a bit of flirtatious. I'll say you'll never get anything like that of that nature from me, because if a woman loves emotionally, right? A woman is emotionally attracted to you and emotionally connected to you. The physical is 10 times better. I
totally.
always say to my male friends, why do you send your a picture of your anatomy to this woman? I can't even say the word. She'll say, yeah, but it'll say, "Well, it's what they like, isn't it?" And I tell
No,
you,
no,
no, they don't like that.
no.
And I'll say to two of them. I know two of them to hand. I'll say, trust me, you could be with the right woman, you could have a 2 inch or a 12 inch.
And they'd be like, you're my favorite.
Yeah, this is, oh my God, my little acorn.
Exactly.
But
No, exactly.
it's a grower, not a shower.
Yeah. Doing your best. I like it. Right?
Well done.
You're
There's
absolutely
your
right.
50 meter swimming badge.
You're
Well
absolutely right.
done.
Like and that's what's so incredible to me is that it's my friends that are married are like, but why do they do it? And I'm like, because they want one in return.
Hmm.
I was like, that's it. Because
Yeah.
now they've done that, so you are now beholden. I said, what they don't understand from me is that I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
not I'm not putting that shit out in the world, right?
Wow, it's a willy. Well
Thank
done.
you. Right?
Well
Okay.
done.
Right? Like so
What women should do is that, oh, by the way, I have a library of these. Do you want to
I,
see any? You want to see the bigger ones?
that's the thing is I actually thought that like I ended up taking myself out of the game, but I thought like the next one I get, I'm just gonna send one back. I have one too. This is from
Yeah.
someone else. Right? Like there's the last one I got. What do you think?
No,
Right?
well, you know what you should do? What you should do is, I have 27 of these and I'm going to put them in size order. Yours is about number 16
You're
or
doing all
17.
right. Congrats. You're in the middle. You're in the middle of the race.
You'll never get another one again.
Dream come true. Problem solved.
Christmas has come early.
But you're absolutely right, though, because listen, if you will connect with a woman, make her feel safe, make her feel, you know, just that emotional connection, I mean, we'll go the distance for you, right?
Oh,
Like, it's like,
oh, I've, I've felt it. I have felt it. I felt it, well, a little while ago, but I did feel it. I felt that, okay, let me change this up. And that was with my last partner.
yeah,
Okay, things happened. But let me change this up. She was she's a beautiful woman. She gets a lot of attention. She does it. She doesn't do it for that reason. That sounds misogynistic. She does it because that she's aware. She's unaware of her attention
yeah,
seeking abilities, but she does it because of her own trauma.
yeah,
I understand that. I
yeah,
get it.
yeah,
But I didn't do any of that, and because I didn't do any of that, I was different.
yes.
And oh my God, the passion.
Show me something I've never seen before, including a dick pic, right?
Yes. Oh God.
No, you're absolutely right. I think it's really like I do believe there is a desire among us to understand one another. I just
Mm.
think that the courage it requires from men is to step into that uncomfortable space of let me be emotional, let me tell you how I feel, can I be safe?
What men need to do and follow my lead, if I can be the Lord of the Simps. Can you show me what it's like to be the man that you want?
Yeah.
And can you let me just take off this hard armor,
Yeah.
show you my soft side that I've never shown to anyone before.
Yeah.
My dad didn't love me. My mum didn't love me. What are you going to show me that's different?
Yeah.
I'm going to show you something different because I believe in you. I want to believe in you. I'm not going to ask you to go down the pub. I'm not going to ask you to watch football and forget about your emotions.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit and talk to you. I want your emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Because some men, when they hear, I want your emotional intelligence, they instantly hear Charlie Brown's teacher.
Yeah.
Wah, 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 wah.
Oh no. Right. Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, what? But here I am learning from you. I've picked up many things from you today.
Well, me too. Same. But that's the joy of having these kinds of relationships, right? Like we can learn so much just by having the conversation and saying, "Here's my experience. What's
Yeah.
yours been?" Right? Because that ultimately, to me, is what's happening. We are having like we're living a life. We're meeting humans and saying, "Here's who I am. Who are you?"
Mhm.
And if the other person goes, "No," then I'm just gonna okay. Off I go to the next person. Right? Okay. If you don't, okay. Because I tend, unfortunately, to some degree, I tend to sort of walk into the world myself and say, if you would like to know me, I'm here to be known. That's how I show up in the world. And that has been dangerous at times, certainly when I was younger, because I just kind of always walked in the world that way. But that to me is why I do what I do. It's why I have the relationships I have, because I say, like, I'm here to be known. If you want to be known, I'll know you, whoever you are. Right. And I think if we, and I'm not saying like, oh, that's the way you should operate, but if we did more of that, a willingness to know and be known, I think we would have more relationships of all kinds, not just romantic relationships.
It's accepting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, men do. There are some men that do play on that.
Yeah, of course.
I take her kindness and I use it as a weakness.
Yeah.
Whereas,
And that's also, just for the record, that's my own trauma showing up, right? It's my background showing up in my simplicity and naivete. I just happen to have learned how to protect myself over
yeah,
time.
yeah.
But yeah, and men will take advantage of it.
But don't be hidden
Yeah.
because you are lovely.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you are lovely.
So, so to close, I'll ask you one more question and then we'll stop because we've talked on and we probably could talk for 2 more hours.
Yeah.
What do you hope for your boys? I'll get teary if you talk about it. So if you get choked up, I'm done. So just so you know, you will ruin my makeup for the day if you get choked up.
Fuck your makeup. What about mine? It took me hours to put this
I
on.
know. Look at that face.
You know what I mean? Hey, this mascara doesn't make itself. What I want for my boys: hope,
Yeah.
sincerity. I want my boys to understand that regardless of what happens in the world and however they are loved, they are adored.
Mm.
They don't need admiration. They don't need acceptance from other men. They need to understand that they are kings in their own rights.
Yeah. I love that.
If they become a shadow to their friends, because some of their friends may well be more, and I hate this word, alpha dominant,
Yeah.
then they need to understand that those alphas are just making their own way in the world.
Mm.
And the louder they become, the more quieter they are heard.
Yeah.
If my children, my boys, become loved, adored, and appreciated by the women around them, it meant that they have sat and listened first before trying to dominate the conversation.
Yeah.
Ignore the men around you. They know shit. Even ignore me.
Yeah.
Just try and be guided by my words. That's all I ask.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I mean, I think that's beautiful. It's the ultimate wish for them. I think just starting with hope, right? Like hoping that they can make their way in the world, be themselves, and find love and be loved, right? So whatever that looks like, not just romantic love, but love. So
Absolutely. And don't objectify a woman.
yeah,
Cross the road if she's on her own.
yeah, yeah,
If she's walking towards you and looks at the floor, that's a signal. Don't take it as a sign to say hello.
yeah,
Don't approach a woman if she looks at you. She's just looking around the room.
yeah, yeah. We're very aware of our the lay of the land at all times, so it's not
Of
an
course,
invitation.
of course.
Yeah,
Whenever you're looking at a woman, look her in the eye.
yeah,
Don't look up and down.
yeah,
Look her in the eye. Because as soon as you look her up and down, you are all men.
yeah. You are instantly unsafe.
Indeed.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for coming and talking to me. I appreciate it for making the time. I'm so glad you did. This was a good conversation. I enjoyed it.
I loved it. I loved it. It's more education learning for me.
Awesome. Well, I'll just make this comment. If anyone's watching this, you'll notice there's a little QR code in the corner. You can donate to Movember, which raises awareness for men's health issues like testicular cancer, prostate cancer, but also men's mental health, suicide awareness, and behavioral health. So if you'd like to donate in the month of November, then please do. And we'll raise money for a good cause. So,
And if anyone wants to listen to a woman about brilliant things and understand and educate yourself,
thank you. I appreciate it.